Welcome to the pre-post film review. I'm John Asquith.
And I'm Matt Stevenson. So the idea behind the podcast is that we watched the trailer for Citizenfour when that was released, and John and I then popped into the studio and recorded our impressions and kind of predictions as to what we think the film will be like. That part of the podcast is completely spoiler-free, so feel free to listen to that before you've seen the film. Then we come back into the studio after we've actually watched the film itself and do a longer review and sort of compare our thoughts on the film to what we thought the trailer was like. That part of the review will be full of spoilers, so don't listen to that until you've seen the film itself. On to the trailer.
Laura, at this stage I can offer nothing more than my word. I am a senior government employee in the intelligence community. I hope you understand that contacting you is extremely high risk. For now, know that every border you cross, every purchase you make, every call you dial, every cell phone tower you pass, friend you keep, site you visit, and subject line you type is in the hands of a system whose reach is unlimited, but whose safeguards are not. In the end, if you publish the source material, I will likely be immediately implicated. I ask only that you ensure this information makes it home to the American public. Thank you, and be careful. Citizenfour.
All right, here we are, guys. We've logged into the studio. It's a crappy pun. And we're going to talk about the trailer for Citizenfour, the new doco that's coming out soon.
Yep.
About... Well, Edward Snowden.
Yes.
And the American government's privacy invasion.
Yes, I
stuff.
would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, seems to be. What are your thoughts? That's a terrible explanation. What are your thoughts on the trailer, Matt?
I like this trailer a lot. It doesn't really tell you much about the film, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah.
I like not sort of knowing what I'm in for. I mean, I guess it's a documentary, so it's a bit different than having a narrative spoiled for a narrative film, but still nice going in blind. It's sort of, I feel like this sort of gives you an idea of the tone of the film. It's almost pitching it as a spy thrillery kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of sort of international shots with that voiceover of how she's going to be monitored after she receives these emails or whatever it was.
In quite a dark, somber tone almost.
Yeah, I really liked all that. I guess I'm pretty excited because I'm so ignorant of exactly what went down with Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
Sort of embarrassed to admit that.
Yeah, same. Recognize his name, obviously, and know he revealed important information. Yeah. But I don't know what the information was.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the exact same boat.
Yeah.
Like, I know that he did something big. And it had to do with internet privacy and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's as far as my knowledge goes. So I'm sort of keen to learn more, I suppose. And Steven Soderbergh's name at the end of the credits is a big draw card for me.
Yeah.
I didn't really realise that he was involved.
No, me neither, actually.
Watching this trailer. So,
yeah.
I mean, who knows how heavily involved he was. He might be one of the ones that's kind of getting it off the ground. But
it's still a good stamp of approval, though, isn't
definitely.
it? Because he obviously has very good taste in things.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think this is a good little trailer, even if it's kind of hard to discern much about the film from it.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah. On the same page. I think it's intriguing. You know, it feels like a teaser, really.
Yeah.
But I like that it gives you just enough to pique your curiosity, and then it sort of ends and leaves you wanting more. So all that stuff at the start about that she's being tracked and followed and all that sort of thing, and that everyone is being tracked and followed, is really concerning and interesting. And then knowing just in real life how important whatever it was he revealed is or was, and knowing that they managed to get him on camera and meet with him in secret or something, it seems. I'm really, really keen to see this and see where it goes. I hope that there is some substance and a good narrative as well to the doco, rather than just presenting a bunch of
just dry facts.
Just
about
facts
things,
like,
yeah.
here's what he wanted to say and blah, 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 and this is happening and everyone should be scared of the government,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
end. Like, hopefully... I don't know, I get the feeling from the trailer that they're almost establishing it in quite a nice narrative storytelling
The
way.
trailer is very cinematic in its own
It is,
subtle
yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a doco in many ways until those final shots when you see him being interviewed
Exactly.
in the hotel room or wherever it is.
Yeah, like the shots of the city or whatever it is,
Yep.
and then the computer screen downloading
Yeah.
something. It all feels like a movie.
Mm.
It even has that opening shot anyway. It kind of reminds me of like Nightcrawler, just
Oh,
like
yeah,
this city
The
at night
cityscape,
and like
yeah.
what kind of sleazy things are happening. Yeah, so I'm really excited actually. I sort of don't know what to expect, but I feel like it'll be good
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I feel the same way as you.
So I don't know anything about you.
Okay. I work for.
So I don't know your name.
Oh, sorry. My name is Edward Snowden. I go by Ed. Edward Joseph Snowden's the full name.
All right, so here we are back in the studio, having just watched Citizenfour, the new documentary about Edward Snowden. What did you think of this one, John?
I think it's relevant that we're sitting in a padded room.
Yeah.
Because this movie made me really paranoid.
Did you just like throw your mobile phone out the window?
Yep, I just smashed it and then felt really bad. I felt like doing that. This movie made me like pretty paranoid and it's a pretty terrifying movie. I really, really, really liked it. I think it's a fantastic documentary, but also sort of a spy movie in a way.
Yep.
And even though the filmmaking itself is quite basic, like literally as basic as you can get, pretty much. Like there's no, I guess there's no artistry to what's going on. Like
No,
it's
not
literally
really.
shooting.
Setting
Point and shoot.
Yeah, setting up a camera in a hotel room for
Yeah.
most of it, and that's about it.
Yeah. But the subject matter is so interesting and so intense that you get this, great, it feels cheap to say like a thrill, kind of thriller or thrill ride sort of aspect to
that's
it.
kind of
But
part of it, though.
that is definitely there. And I think, the lead up to meeting Edward Snowden is actually quite, I sort of take back what I said earlier, like that's quite, not artistically, but like well edited, and there's like a build up with hearing his emails and that she was anonymously contacted.
Yep.
So overall I was really, really impressed. I think it's not the most artistic thing ever made, but it's so interesting, and I feel extremely ignorant for not knowing more about
that's
it
very true,
beforehand. I
actually.
actually feel bad for not knowing more beforehand.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I think, as usual, we're on the same page. I agree, actually. I felt really guilty for not knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
Quite out of touch and dumb.
Yeah, same.
I'd missed this huge thing that happened. But in terms of the film itself, I would agree. I think probably at the beginning I was a little worried about how unfilmy it was.
Yeah.
Like it sort of bordered on a bit cheap for me.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just felt kind of like I don't know, like a short film, or maybe even like a student doco that you kind of see on those activist kind of film festivals and things.
Yeah.
But as the film progressed, I think that sort of dissipated in a sense. Not that it became suddenly all flashy and showy, but it just seemed like creating the film like that was a strength. It didn't use all these fancy tricks to try and get the point across. It trusted that its subject matter was
I
interesting
agree.
and compelling enough to pull you through.
Yeah.
Which I think is a huge plus for the film. And
Yeah,
I really
totally.
love
And, like,
that it did that.
Having seen it fully, like, it couldn't have been done any other way. I think it would have taken away from it if there were like shallow depth of field shots and quirky music or even dramatic music or any kind of music over the top, or like it deserved to just be like, here's like the facts of what's happening. Here's this thing happening. Think about it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think what I really liked about it and didn't know going in was that it's showing the lead up to the leaks of this information.
Yep.
And everyone, these two journalists and the filmmaker, and then Edward Snowden, all talking about what's going to happen, and him revealing the information to them, and how explosive and important the information is, and then seeing that trickle from the journalists to their publications and then just exploding over media all over the world. And he's just sitting in his hotel room with the TV on all the time, seeing all this information come back to him. I thought that was really, really interesting. And I don't know, you just got a real sense of how world-changing it was and how nerve-wracking it must have been for him. Like, he's a pretty calculated, cool guy.
Yeah.
And I mean cool, like, as in calm, not like cool dude. Although I guess he is a cool dude. I don't know. But I could feel this sort of anxiousness and anxiety watching him see this happen. You know, it's like there's no going back now.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. And it's kind of like, it's an interesting choice to structure it like that, because it would have been easier to sort of explode it out of that room and explore like the effects that it had on the media and the public and all that. But they keep it so claustrophobic and contained, like almost within the hotel room. I mean, before that, in the end, I suppose they go out. Yeah. But while he's in there, you're basically just with him or the journalist the whole time.
Totally.
And watching the kind of repercussions of releasing this information into the media. Yeah, I thought it was a really smart way of doing it. I guess that kind of links back to what we were saying before about style, and I don't know, it does make me wonder a little. Sort of, we claim that it kind of just presents the facts. Yeah, but in a way, it's kind of, you know, it's deliberately stylizing itself in a certain way to convey its message. Like, it hides it well. Yeah. But I don't know, that just made me think that it's in some ways equally as calculated as something that is more flashy and more showy.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like, it definitely has its own agenda and points to make, and it believes wholeheartedly in what he is doing, what he did. You know, so in that sense, it definitely has an agenda and things. But I don't know, just work, like, it totally works.
I agree.
I think because the seriousness of what he's revealing is something that people do need to know. That it's totally fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not even like a political agenda. I don't think, really. It's like, well, maybe it is, but not in terms of like a certain view or a party or anything.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's just like,
it's just like the people should
need to know
what's happening with their government. Yeah. Did you find it skewed in any way? Like, would you say, like, unbalanced?
As in unbalanced? Yeah. No, because, I mean, I don't know. I think I have to imagine that the majority of people in the world think it's a good thing that happened. And in that sense, in that sense, it shouldn't need to be balanced, because it's like, here's the facts. This is what this guy is doing, and this is what he's saying.
I see what you mean.
You know, there are idiots out there that think he shouldn't have released this information, and they say that he's increased threats to national security, and it's that old government line of like, well, by revealing this information, you've put America in
the security.
In danger. So I guess the movie could have gone into that a bit, but it's not really about that. It's just like, here's what happened over these days, and the kind of months before and after. And I think the director's intention was just to say, this is what happened from this date to this date.
Yeah.
This is what happened. This is who I spoke to, what I was told, and it's up to you to decide how you feel. But there's kind of only one way you can feel, I think. And I don't know whether I'm putting too much of my own personal belief that this sort of information should be available, or whether that's the film, like persuading me, or I don't know.
No, it just sort of popped into my head as I was thinking about it.
Do you have any thoughts on the balance thing? Because I don't know how else it could be.
No, I think you're right. I mean, it just occurred to me that you sort of don't really hear the other side. I mean, I guess you see news footage and like there's media spiel, the government's media spiel about why it was so bad.
Yeah.
But you never really have a trustworthy source explaining what
that
side of the argument is.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is,
I feel like it's just such a one-sided thing.
Yeah, like
anyway,
Yeah, I think that, and the documentary, like you said, isn't about the issue. It's about Snowden, and it's about it's almost about him, right? Like it's about, even though it doesn't drill into his past, and like you infer all these, like all the reasoning and logic behind why he's doing this. Like it's such a big fucking thing that
huge
is just as interesting as the information that you find out, the terrifying fucking spying that you find out.
Yeah,
is
I agree.
This man, this 29-year-old guy, like Jesus, he's younger than me.
Yeah.
And he's standing up against like the American government because he feels like he needs to expose this information. Like what must go through your mind for you to put all that on the line?
Yeah, that's right.
And then trusting these two people, like it could all just fall apart. Like no one could care. It might just vanish. Then he gets fired and jailed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a risky move.
I think you're right. Like it's easy to get caught up in the facts that he's revealing, and they are really scary. And that's the first thing I said in this review. Yeah. But you're right. Like there's this whole side to it that is about him, which is what he didn't want at the time. But now that it's a couple of years later, it's interesting to look back at this footage and focus on him as a person. And you're right, like agree with it or not, but the courage that it takes to do this, and to hear him talk about, he doesn't quite break down or cry, but he gets close to a couple of points talking about his family and his partner, saying that he hasn't told them anything because he doesn't want them implicated in any way, and how hard that is to imagine. This is before it's gone public, that they're going to find out through the media that he's the one revealing this and that he's in a lot of trouble, and not being able, imagine not being able to tell your significant other this huge thing that you're about to do. That
will change like his life
forever.
And both of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he has to live the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, pretty much, sort of in fear of his life. It's huge, and I think that is really, really interesting. And that, despite the film's kind of cold, in a way, just factual looking at things, there is that human side that comes through.
Yeah, it's so true. And hearing you say that makes me realise how good this film is. Like, that's quite a feat to have been able to pull both of those things off.
Yeah, totally,
And I think you're right. Like, even though it only shows the one side of the argument, it isn't... And, well, it never feels preachy, or it never feels like it's ramming its political views down your throat.
Yeah.
It's like exactly what you said before. It's just, here's what happened over this 4-day period or whatever it was.
Yeah.
This is what he said. This is the information he found.
Yeah.
This is the implications that it potentially has feel about it what you will. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
like it's trusting its audience.
Yeah.
To know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Without like screaming in your face.
Yeah,
Like, look
that's
how
right.
terrible this is.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of a Michael Moore documentary,
Yeah,
which has
exactly.
tricky editing and voiceover every 2 seconds to like tell you what you're supposed to be thinking or something. I mean, yeah, it's really it's a great feat of documentary filmmaking.
Yeah, it really is, and it's so small and low key in a way. Like you could watch this and just think it was a cheap doco that was.
Yeah, it kind of just looks like a TV special or
like
something.
I don't know. It's just so subtly brilliant in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, I agree, and it's funny as we're talking about this. It's kind of going up a few notches in my head.
It is for me as well.
Starting off saying that, there's not a lot of artistic merit to it, and the actual filmmaking isn't great, but it kind of is
in a way,
now.
In its own way, yeah.
In its
Just
own way,
because
exactly.
It's not conventionally showy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, being able to juggle these different elements that we're talking about is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Um,
and then on top of that too, you've got the spy-y stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like, particularly I think it's like the first third maybe, or the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Where it's all about her reading out the correspondence that she's had with Snowden.
Yeah.
And there's like the crazy meetups and stuff they had. Like there was something in the coffee shop or something.
Yeah. When they finally decide to meet for the first time. And it is exactly like a spy movie.
I was like nerded out when that happened. I was like, this actually happened in real life.
Yeah,
this is
it's amazing.
Straight out of a spy film.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I'll be in this cafe, I'll be playing with a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah,
so
that's
you know
right.
Who I am. Come over, ask me the hours of the store.
Yeah.
I'll say I don't know, but there's a place next door you can try, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll get up and just follow me. Like, that's just amazing.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it is. And that carries on for a little bit up until he kind of reveals the information. He's so, because he, I guess, knows the extent to the reach of this program. He's so paranoid, and some of the stuff he says is just like mind blowing. Like he at one point he's like talking about just the phone in the hotel room.
Oh,
and he's like, these phones have mini computers in them, basically little chips, and they can be hardwired into. I don't know if hardwired is the right word. They can be hacked into or whatever, and you can listen through them without even picking up the receiver.
Yeah, so someone could be listening even if the phone's on the hook.
And then there's this great moment, like soon after that, where the fire alarm goes off, and you see his face just drop, and he goes pale for a second. Because he thinks that he's been found, and that this is like some wave that people are about to come and get him.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's wrong. It turns out he's wrong
just
because
a fire alarm
they're just doing a test. Yeah. But like that just shows where his head is at. For one, he's not maybe slightly too paranoid.
Yeah, I think it comes off like that at the beginning a little bit. Like you think he's a little bit.
Yeah, I think
loopy, or he's just
definitely
a little bit too far. But then the further you go down that rabbit hole with him, you understand why.
Exactly.
He's so
and
paranoid.
what linking to that as well, one of the last scenes, might be the last scene, is they catch up with him again.
Yeah.
And they're like, so this is the latest development.
And they sort of half talking, half.
Yeah, and then they write down the key words.
And show each other,
because they don't trust any devices or anything that's around them. And so they're all down that rabbit hole, as you say now, with him. Like, it's amazing, that transition that the journalists themselves make, where he seems a bit Edward Snowden seems a bit paranoid, and then by the end they're all like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's how it ends, right? It ends with the taunt. Like, they tear the paper up after they
exactly,
write it.
So
they can't even read that.
Yeah.
And then it ends with the pile of paper on the table.
Yeah.
You're right. There is
powerful.
like that character arc within the doco as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I didn't even realise until we just started talking about it.
Yeah.
But that's that's a pretty cool thing.
Though I did think, just rewatching it then, I was watching some of the clips from the beginning where they have those other techie guys like giving like lectures.
Yeah.
And some of those did feel a little like alarmist.
Yeah, I agree about that. There's that one at the start And I was thinking, like, oh, the movies like this.
Yeah, it's a little.
just-
Well, just having said before that it's not preachy at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I give it a pass because I don't feel like that's the film being preachy. I
No.
feel like that was just that guy. Like they were trying to get
Yeah.
some experts, and
Yeah.
that's how he spoke at
Yeah.
his conference.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
yeah, it would have kind of been out of place for the film to like edit it to sound less
Yeah.
preachy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one guy in particular did come off as a little bit alarmist, and
Yeah, I
just
think
his terminology. I had a note here
Yeah.
actually because like just the words that he uses.
Yeah.
Like he was talking about linking your debit card to your
My key, basically.
your public transport card.
Yeah.
And then he goes on, it's like, so when they decide to target you,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, it's
I
not
noticed that
when,
too.
it's like
Yeah.
if, man, like,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
everyone's going to be targeted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's got a good point, and like,
Yeah.
but he was
Yeah,
very
I agree.
like, pushing the buttons.
Yeah, I noticed that exact thing like straight away too. I was like,
Yeah.
it's not like everyone's going to be chased down or
Yeah.
anything. Like the point is, yeah, they shouldn't have the
Yeah.
information.
Or
but-
just be careful about what you're linking. Be aware that this is all trackable. So when you're
Yeah.
doing this,
Yeah.
if you end up getting targeted, they will be able to track everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I found that it's almost off-putting sometimes, that sort of thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I know what you're saying and it's good, but if you overdo it,
Yeah,
like,
just tone it back a few levels.
Yeah,
and you come
exactly.
off as more professional and less like
yeah.
crazy conspiracy nut.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I suppose you could argue that by the end of the movie, it kind of, you almost come around more to his side of things. But
Yeah.
I think the difference is that guy is talking seemingly to just members of the public,
Yeah,
right? Whereas the paranoia that Snowden has and the journalists
Yeah.
have is more warranted because they're in a dangerous situation. You know what I mean? And like overall, yes, it's bad for the public as well, but it's extra bad for people that want to tell the truth and that want
exactly.
to perhaps protest against things or whatever, or come to the media, because if they're being monitored, they could potentially be silenced before the truth gets out or something.
yeah.
Whereas that first guy was like, you got to put on your tinfoil hats, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fine line because
Yeah.
you're right, and I think it's effective in the sense that those opening scenes give it a real world relevance, like to you as a viewer, like
Yeah.
and it makes you start thinking about like how everything is connected within your own life.
Yeah.
Which then after you see all the Snowden stuff, I don't know, it seems so important, and
Yeah.
you should be aware of these things. But yeah, like it's the flip side of that is, especially at the beginning, it just feels a little bit like, I don't know, going too hard.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was a more subtle way you could have introduced those things. I mean, I guess you
Yeah.
could just not have that stuff at the start.
Yeah.
And have it just be about Snowden, and then it's up to us to make up our own decision as to what kind of stuff is being monitored within our own lives.
Yeah. I think you probably could have gotten rid of that scene. I'm not sure in the grand scheme of the movie why that's there.
He comes back at the end, right? Like he's on the panel at the very end.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're right.
can't
One of
remember
there's a
what
few
he-
panels at the
yeah.
end. I think you're right. He's on one. So maybe that's just a way of introducing him or something.
Yeah.
But it did feel a bit out of place, perhaps. I don't want to use the word they're enjoying it, but
You talk about the first two guys,
the
right?
whistleblowers sometimes are like, it's like almost like not playing a game when you're a kid, but it's like playing spy or something. You know what I mean? There's almost a sense of enjoyment of like,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, no, they'll find you, they'll get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, you think you're safe? No, you're not. They enjoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's like part of it, the reason you enjoy like a spy film or something. There's something
Yeah.
alluring about this kind of like
Yeah.
shady
Yeah, that's right.
cloak and dagger, coded messages.
Yeah.
And I guess also being in that position, they feel like they're smarter than most people. Like,
Yeah.
or they know
That's
more
right,
than most
yeah.
people. They're in a position where they have knowledge about all this
Yeah.
shady stuff that no one else knows. So
Yeah.
by doing these presentations or talking to people like that is kind of like showing off their
there's
their
a little bit of that
knowledge
sometimes.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And I felt a little bit that way with Snowden at the beginning, just because I didn't know him at that point.
Yeah.
And when you're reading his emails and it's all like just a little bit too paranoid and a little bit too like...
I think there is a little bit of that to him as well. Like, even though I agree with what he did and he was right, there is a tiny bit of that. It's especially, as you say, in the lead up. Like, once it's out there and it becomes real, some of that, it goes away because it's like, oh shit, now I have to deal with this. Yeah. But I think you're right. And I even think some of the correspondence is like you could have written that just normally.
Yeah, he uses a little bit too much kind of conspiracy slang.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like it kind of leaps into the director, Laura Poitras. Her correspondence, I noticed, gets a bit like that as it goes on. And that in my head, that links to that thing we were just talking about.
But them all going.
Yeah, well, it links to that.
The Kool-Aid.
And also, like, it's kind of not fun because it's a serious situation.
Right, so that she's like getting caught up, swept up in the whole world of espionage.
Yeah, like her responses are like brief and like have a couple of like espionage words in them and stuff. And it's like, you could have just written, hey, are you okay? But instead of like, hey, are you okay? It's like, you okay? Don't want to tip my hand. Like, or like, hey, I think this report might come out tomorrow. Fingers crossed. It's like, report might come out tomorrow. They're getting cold feet. You know what I mean? It's like, just write like a normal person. I don't know. I'm getting too... I don't know why I'm getting annoyed, but it's like, just don't... You don't have to put an act on. Like, this is serious enough. And it's actually... I don't know. I'm more inclined to be with you if you're... Just be a normal person.
Yeah, I agree. I think, for the most part, Snowden... nails it. It's not a performance. But do you know what I mean? Like, he comes off as a bit loopy to begin with. But once you spend so much time with him, I mean, there's maybe a hint of it there, but whether that's just him being paranoid and like being put in such a fucking stressful situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whether he is just a bit, his personality type's a bit like that, whatever.
Yeah.
But like 95% of the time, he seems like such a normal, rational
quite a nice guy as well.
Just
There's a cool little scene. I don't know if cool's the right word. There's a little scene where he's like talking to room service just about like his meal or whatever, and he just sounds like a nice guy on the phone. Yeah,
just like a normal dude.
Yeah, it's interesting that they kept that in, I guess, to show that point.
So I think that really helps and helps you go along with him. Like if he was a bit wacky, like the first couple of experts, then. I can see that being quite alienating, and I'd sort of push back a bit from that as the film
that's
went
right.
on.
Yeah.
Whereas he seems so rational and normal.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. I'm willing to go with him.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I feel like this is a really important documentary. Maybe it's a little bit because I didn't know much about the subject matter. Yeah. I was quite naive in the whole Snowden thing, but like a lot of it was hugely revelatory for me. Like I didn't know a lot of this stuff was happening. Yeah, I don't know. I also think it fascinated me and scared me, sort of how it played out in the film. In that Snowden was so aware of what he was so clued into how it was going to go down, and he wanted to stay out of the media just long enough for the information to hit, because he would say that he was saying that as soon as they put his name on it, the government would like shift the focus off their illegal tracking onto him and his breaking the law and make him the villain. And it's like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing that everything he said is what happened.
Yeah, and I think that probably has. I'm kind of trying to skirt the responsibility of not knowing much about it, but you know what I mean. That I feel like that's one of the reasons I didn't know as much about this. Yeah, is because the media suddenly shifted. Like I knew of Snowden and I knew that he'd leaked something. Same, but that's about it. I knew that he was, technically under arrest or whatever. They were trying to extradite him back to America because he'd done something illegal. Yeah, but it's like that's exactly what he said. Like the media's going to stop reporting on the the criminal activities of the government and start reporting on him as a person.
Yep.
And I feel like this film is important because it kind of flips that, and you get to
I think
focuses back on the
that's a very good
on
point.
the government.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's coming out now a few years after, and it's getting a reasonably big release for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people might be in the same position that we were, where he's a name that you know, and you know he's implicated in this stuff, but you don't know the specifics. And they're going to see the movie, and it's just another way for his message to sort of be heard, and for people to see that he's just a guy that was in a job that had enough, basically, and decided to do this thing. And he's not this like evil mastermind or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy criminal that was leaking top secret documents to the enemy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm glad that it's getting attention, this film. Like, I feel like it deserves a lot of the attention and the Academy Award nomination.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you reckon it will win?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen many of the other ones that it's up against, so I feel like I'm really not qualified to judge. But I kind of hope it does.
Yeah, me too.
I hope it... they can sort of see past the lo-fi kind of filmmaking stuff like we were talking about to begin with, because if you sort of skim through it and look at it on a super surface level, it might not look that impressive.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you dig a bit deeper, I think it's deserving of winning.
Yeah, totally. So I'm really glad I saw this movie, and I would recommend it to almost anyone.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Because of how much amazing information is in there and how eye-opening it is. It's never boring. It's never, like, as much as we say it's about the facts, it's never like in a boring way or anything.
No,
you're kind of constantly
so riveting the whole time.
you're sort of on the edge of your seat for most of it. So I highly recommend it, and I really love it.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Recommending it to everyone. I gave my mum a pass the other day and told her to go see it.
Yeah.
And it's like not in her wheelhouse at all. Like, she's not into spy movies or like techie docos, but I think it's just important for everyone to see it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I really hope it wins the Oscar because I think it's deserving.
Now let's go destroy our phones.
Yep. Delete my Facebook account. Thanks for listening to the pre-post film review. We'd love to hear what you guys thought of Citizenfour, whether it freaked you out, what you think of Snowden and the film in general. So shoot us an email at prepostfilmreview@gmail.com. We love to hear your thoughts, and we'll personally answer anything you send, so any feedback is more than welcome.
Totally. Just make sure it's really encrypted and there's like a million passwords that we need to...
Totally. And uses lots of spy lingo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just to make sure it's safe. You can also give us a like on Facebook if you want to. That would be great.
You still have your Facebook account after...
Exactly. This might all be pointless after watching the doco. But if you decide to keep your Facebook account, give us a like, because you can stay up to date with the show, and also it helps spread the word a little bit and help us get new listeners. Likewise, iTunes, probably the most important thing you guys can do is subscribe on iTunes. That would be amazing. Again, helps us get more listeners, spread the word for the show, get us featured on little iTunes lists, things like that. You can also keep in touch with us on Twitter, if you've kept that one as well. That's at prepostfr. We'll post on there every now and then, and keep you updated with the shows. If you don't like iTunes, I'm doing this in a bit of a backwards way, but if you're not an iTunes fan, we're also on Stitcher or most of the big podcast server or hosting sites, so subscribe on those, and we'll love you forever.
We will. You can also follow us on Letterboxd. There's links to our pages in the show notes for this episode and all the episodes, I think. Letterboxd is just a cool little film community website that lets you review and log all the films that you watch. So it's a great little service that lets you keep a film diary, so you can look back at your year and see what you've been watching and what you rated things. So it's just a great way to check out what John and I have been watching that we don't necessarily talk about on the podcast. And like all the other ways, you can sort of chat to us and message us there if you feel like it.
Yeah.
And join us next episode when we'll be chatting about the wacky-looking new Wachowski siblings film, Jupiter Ascending.
Yes.
Should be fun.
Yeah, and like we were saying, with the ability to hack into phones and stuff and listen, they do that in movies sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, it's a bit lame.
Yeah, I was
like,
thinking you could do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And they can. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. All those times I've like poked plot holes in films, like claiming that it was unbelievable and it was all like actually real.
Yeah, exactly.